Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Come on in. Special edition of Pop and Politics. I am KJ. This is Shelly E. We don't have to add our. Do we have our names on here? Oops. Let me see here. It's fine. Um, yes. So we are a special edition of Pop and Politics tonight. We are discussing Larry Elder on the Breakfast Club this week. So Larry Elder is the 2024 GOP presidential candidate, and he was on the Breakfast Club show with host Charlamagne the God, DJ Envy, and Tezlyn Figaro. Is that how we pronounce her name, Shelly?
I think it's Figueroa.
Figueroa. Okay, Figueroa. Whatever her name is. I actually call her the bitch in blue. And you'll see why I do that. But we are going to discuss the entire show, or at least the majority of it. Again, Larry Elder was on this week, and it was quite the interview. Quite the interview. The topic came up during Elder's appearance on the show, where he and the show's host discussed topics such as systemic racism, fatherlessness, and other circumstances affecting the Black community. So again, Larry is he ran for governor in the recall election against Newsom in California. He is a longtime radio host. I believe he's one of few radio hosts that have their name on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And he's brilliant. I mean, before we get into this interview, what are your thoughts on Larry Elder, Shelley?
Yeah. I call Larry Elder a walking encyclopedia. Like, he is brilliant. Not only is he brilliant, he's very engageable. He will engage with just about any audience. But the man is literally, he's smart. He facts and data is kind of stored in his head, just like a computer. So the Breakfast Club, to go up against him, it's not a matter of going up against him. It's a matter of, we're going to talk about it, of course, but I want to tell you my disclaimer, what I call Tezlyn Figueroa. I call her the DWBC, the dumb woman of the Breakfast Club.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, we're going to get right into it, because we want to get quite a bit of this interview in. So I want to share with you, this is the first clip we're going to go through. This is basically how it all started and how they just kind of tried to go against Larry. Larry here in this clip is pretty much going over who he is and why he's running. All right, so take a look at this. Let me see here. All right. Here we go.
You running for president?
Well, I'm running as an America First mega guy, and we have an America First mega guy running, obviously. So the question is, what do you bring to the table?
You say MAGA.
MAGA.
Okay.
And the answer is, I bring a lot of issues to the table that I feel our side is not talking enough about.
Okay.
For example, the number one social problem in America by far is the epidemic, not of COVID, but of fatherlessness.
Right.
70% of Black kids today enter the world without a father in the home, married to the mother.
Exactly.
Up from 25% back in 1965. Now 25% of white kids enter the world today without a father in the home, married to the mother.
Right.
And the stats are clear. Even Barack Obama once cited them. If you're raised without a dad, you're 5 times more likely to be poor and commit crime, 9 times more likely to drop out of school, and 20 times more likely to end up in jail.
Absolutely.
What's happened? In the mid-60s, with I think the best of intentions, a Democrat named Lyndon Johnson launched what he called the War on Poverty. And since then, we have incentivized women to marry the government and incentivized men to abandon their financial and moral responsibility.
Breaking it down.
You know, when I say this to people, the pushback I get is, well, there are lots of things that are going on, systemic racism, poverty. Here's the problem. If you look at a young Black male, age 10 to 43, that's young to me because I'm 71 years old.
He's 71, so he's coming with experience.
13 times more likely to be murdered than a young white man, same demo. Young Black man, real young, 19 and under, the number one cause of preventable death is homicide, almost always at the hands of another young Black male. Same demo for whites. The number one cause of preventable death is unintentional deaths. That includes drug overdoses, automobile accidents, drownings. It's not until they get to number 4 that death is the cause.
Exactly. Very important
In
point.
America, 60% of the shootings, the robberies, and the homicides are committed by Black people, often against other Black people.
Exactly.
Of the homicides in this country, half of them are Black victims, almost all killed by other Blacks. How do you explain that if it isn't for the absence of fathers? Are you prepared to say
so that was,
Black people are just genetically inclined to commit more crime? I doubt it. And the go-to reaction often is poverty and systemic racism. Here's the problem. 1940, when there was blatant racism. This is before.
Yeah, you want to say something here with that?
Yeah, so already up front, they've asked him why he's running, what are the issues are, basically. This is his platform. Larry has been talking about this stuff for years. And not only has he been talking about it, it's actually true. And it has gotten worse, at least in his 71 years. But he's giving them information. And the one key thing that he's talking about here is the crime and comparing it, again, the percentages to white people and Black people. And as he said, most of the crimes committed by Black people are against other Black people. That is that, along with, hijacked, if you will, on the back of fatherlessness, are the major issues in the Black community.
Absolutely. And he's basically, as you mentioned, he is just stating facts, facts and figures. It's generally, anyone can look up this information. He's not trying to slant it towards white, towards Black. It is the facts of crime in America. I want to keep going for a moment. Now he's about to explain the idea of why we have these social programs and how they have done nothing but harm the Black community.
Right.
Take a look.
Before Brown versus Board of Education, before the Civil Rights Act of 64, KKK was still alive and well. 87% of Blacks lived under the poverty line. Now it's about 14%. You can't blame it on poverty. You can't blame it on racism. It is the breakdown of the nuclear intact family, and neither side is talking about it. The left doesn't talk about it because they caused it with the welfare state, and our side does not talk about it because if you're white, you'll be accused of dissing single moms.
There he is. So he's talking, and he said it's due. I'm not sure if we already went over this or not. He's talking about how in Lyndon Johnson implemented these social programs and basically incentivized women to marry the government. This is something that's well known within the conservative community. We talk about this all the time.
Exactly. And one more thing he says here, I don't want it to be missed. When we hear the left put these arguments out, why people are committing crimes, particularly in the Black community, and the number one reason they'll say is because of poverty. The data that he just gave, when you talk about from 1968 with the Great Society programs, when he talks about 80%, I think, of the Black community or Black women were on welfare. Today, 14%. It's significantly less people on welfare in the Black community, but yet we have more crime. He's giving them the data to disprove these arguments that proliferate.
Right, exactly. Now let's talk. Now this is their reaction to him giving facts, figures, and data on this. Take a look at this. So here we are. I think it's about
1910, 1920, 1930 in places like Milwaukee, Chicago, Philadelphia. A young Black kid was slightly more likely to be brought into a world with a father in the home married to the mother than a young white kid. We have incentivized this kind of bad behavior, and it's had a disproportionately bad effect on the Black community.
Let me ask you a question. What do white people do wrong?
What?
What do you mean, what do white people do? I'm not worried about white people. I'm worried about what's going on with us.
But if there's systemic racism in this country, which we know it is.
No, I don't say there is. You say there is. I don't believe that.
Oh, you don't believe this?
No, there used to be, obviously. Tell me what you think the number one systemic example of systemic racism is in America.
Oh man, there's so many.
Just give me the most important one you think.
But at the top of mind, I'll probably say maybe mass incarceration.
So let's stop right there. So you heard it. Larry just went through all of those facts and figures about the society, how we were in the 1960s, what happened when Lyndon Johnson. They didn't ask about that. They didn't ask about it specifically, maybe what policies within the welfare system brought about this was harmful to the Black community. He says, what about white people? This is what Black people are obsessed with white people.
And they are. You're right, KJ. We talk about this all the time on our show. And look, Larry just said 1910, 20, 30, 40, 50. That was before the Great Society programs. Black people, Black children were more likely to be born into intact families, and the crime was less, right? The poverty was less. So that just totally went over Charlamagne's bald head.
What about white people?
It washed over his bald head like I don't know what. It just washed over his bald head.
Now listen to this. And you heard Larry Elder say, he said there was systemic racism in the past.
Right.
But he does not agree that it's a systemic racism going on as of today. Right. He never denied that, of course, America was a racist country. We had slavery, we had Jim Crow, et cetera, et cetera. But right now, we are not blaming everything on systemic racism.
Right.
And this is where the conversation went left.
Maybe.
Really? During the Great Depression, when 50% of Black adults were unemployed, you didn't have this kind of mass incarceration. It's to break down the family. There's a direct.
I'm not going to. I agree with the family part. I'm a Black man who is a father to his children, and I'm a happily married Black man to a Black woman. So I'm never going to argue with that part, But I just feel like everything is black, but you Black is wrong. Black people do this and Black people do that. And when I asked you what white people do wrong, you said you're not worried about.
So let's go back. So you heard what he said. So he starts the conversation, Charlamagne, off with, I'm a Black man married to a Black woman. You just said everything Black.
Exactly.
I'm a Black man, I'm married to a Black woman. Okay, bravo. Well, wonderful. Well, he can't talk about what's going on in the Black community?
Right. Exactly. No, he can't.
Ridiculous.
He can't. And you know what? Keep that thought, KJ. You know why he can't talk about it? Because it'll come up later when our friend enters the arena.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hold on. Here we go.
White people
I'm talking about the damage, disproportionate damage going on in the Black community. For example, look at these smash and grabs that are taking place in Los Angeles, where I live. There's a suburb called Glendale, where at a mall recently, a mob of 30 to 40 people, they had masks on, but one guy got popped. He was a Black. I think most of those who were doing this were Black. And in recent years and times, there have been a number of these in places like Chicago.
I want everyone to listen to what Larry is explaining. He's talking about disproportionality. I'm going to let you just sit on that word for a minute because it's going to play out along the way.
Right. Yeah, he went through the facts and figures, and he talked about how Blacks make up 13% of the population, but commit far beyond that in crime.
Right. Exactly. Okay. So that's the disproportionality he's talking about. And again, he talks about, he explains it. If white people are, there's more white people in the country, but proportionate to their numbers, they commit less crime. When you look at the disproportionality, they don't understand that.
Right. They don't. This is why critical thinking is key. But listen, Democrats, they all probably grew up, except for Charlamagne. I think he is actually from the South. But the other two, DJ Envy and Tezlyn, probably grew up in Democratic-controlled urban areas, and the education system is poor. And this right here is a prime example of it, because they cannot critically think.
Nope.
Here we go.
Bar Association would have two Black presidents, and they have. He said president, meaning at that point, I can feel that I've reached the mountaintop, which is the speech he gave right before he got assassinated the day before. And now we act as if Barack Obama never even got elected.
We do.
And we're still talking about systemic racism. It's not fair. It's wrong. And you're discouraging Black people from working hard. 1990s.
Okay. Mr. Elder,
let's
just remove the word racism, since that seems to be a word that triggers, a conversation down the water hole. Let's just focus on the word system.
Okay.
You mentioned that the system was the one that discouraged. And again, we have no problem with agreeing that the family, the Black family should certainly has some room for some improvement. But let's just focus on system.
He doesn't even know what system means.
Well, we're not going to go down that water. We're not going to go down that water hole. Let's get to the question. So the question is, you said that the system encouraged Black women to be single mothers, correct?
I said the welfare state, yes.
The welfare, the system. So who's in charge of the system? Who was in charge of the system?
Well, it was Democrats that passed it.
And who were Democrats? Were they Black or white at that time?
Well, at the time, majority of Black people were Democrats, as the majority of Black people are Democrats now.
Not the voters. I'm talking about the system. Remember, the main idea is the word system. Who was in charge of the system at the time? The Democrats at the time. The system. I'm just going to Charlamagne's point about white or Black. Was it white Democrats in charge of the system or Black Democrats in charge of the system?
Well, if you're prepared to say that Lyndon Johnson did this viciously with an intent to destroy the Black family, I disagree. He did it with the best of intentions. And if you look at the New York Times, which is left wing, the Washington Post, which is left wing, they cheered all of this.
She does not. And what I'm asking was, it white people? So I'm going to ask again in case my mic's not coming through clearly.
Let me stop it right here. Your mic is coming through clearly, which you are not making any sense. This is what it is. We can hear you, but you are not making any sense.
Exactly. DWBC. KJ, I want you to do a favor though. You got to go back. I think it is the 7-minute 30-second mark when she first comes on, because I want you to see Larry's facial expression when she first makes.
Wait. Yeah, because you guys remember, this is the same Dumbo that interviewed Vivek Ramaswamy and was upset because this man has created companies. He's created medicine, I think, to help cure diseases. And she was upset because he would not mention what he did in middle school for volunteer service. This is the woman right here. This is her. And here she is again. Here we are.
Go back like 5 more seconds. I don't want people to miss his facial expression. There you go. Okay, right there.
He didn't say the most prestigious organization of lawyers, the American Bar Association, would have 2 Black presidents, and they have. He said president, meaning at that point, I can feel that I've reached the mountaintop, which is the speech he gave right before he got assassinated the day before. And now we act as if Barack Obama never even got elected.
We do.
And we're still talking about systemic racism. It's not fair. It's wrong. And you're discouraging Black people from working hard. 1990s.
Mr. Elder, quick question. Let's just remove the word racism, since that seems to be a word that triggers, a conversation down the water hole. Let's just focus on the word system.
I gotta deal with
it. Like this, he said,
yes.
Here we go. This is ignorance. Let me tell you something.
Yes.
When I saw this whole show, I actually had to question, this must be some type of side, and they're actually trying to help the Republican Party because they are so ignorant and so idiotic that I don't see how anyone can watch them with these questions and their answers and think they want to vote for the Democrat Party. I don't see it.
Now that's interesting because KJ, I had almost the opposite thought. I said, people watching them, they're loyal fans. I can see why they latch onto Tezlyn's and Charlamagne and Envy, because it does not do anything to challenge their thinking. This is just robotic, spit out whatever they've been programmed to think or not think, I should say. Embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. And I can't, this nasty witch, she's so smug.
Yes.
She's so smug. And she thinks she's so smart. And she is dumb as a box of rocks.
Yes.
Here we go. So let me take you to,
DWBC.
The main idea is the word system.
Here we go.
Who was in charge of the system at the time? The Democrats at the time. The system. I'm just going to Charlamagne's point about white or black. Was it white Democrats in charge of the system or black Democrats in charge of the system?
Well, if you're prepared to say that Lyndon Johnson did this viciously with an intent to destroy the black family, I disagree. He did it with the best of intentions.
We don't even know
and if you look at the New York Times, which is left wing, the Washington Post, which is left wing, they cheered all of this.
Right. And what I'm asking was, if white people, so I'm going to ask again in case my mic's not coming through clearly. Was it white people in charge of the system or black people in charge of that system that helped break down the black family? It's a simple yes, just a simple question, white or black.
Well, you didn't have to go on welfare unless you voluntarily chose to go on welfare. The inducement was put there by Democrats, by the left.
Correct. Okay.
Well, most black people were Democrats, and they voted for these white people.
Not voters. I said who's in charge of the system.
What does that mean? Well, she doesn't even know what that means.
Who put them in charge?
Was Lyndon Johnson white or black?
Who put them in charge?
Maybe that'll help.
Fine. Lyndon Johnson was white.
Thank you.
So what now? What?
But if your argument is that the reason he did it is because of racism, then I disagree. He did it because of.
That's not my argument. I just asked you a simple question: was he white or black, Charlamagne?
And see, that has to be her argument. It has to be, because if you're making a point of his skin color, then what follows? He made your point. That's what you're saying. Because he was white, he was in charge of the system, and he's the one that did this to black people. Dummy, you don't even know your own argument, the own conclusion of your own thinking.
I just have a simple question. Are you asking a simple question or are you asking a dumb question? Is it a simple question or is it a dumb question? I just have a quick simple question. Yes or no? All right, that's it. Charlamagne.
Right, Charlamagne.
All right, here we go. All right, so I want to move on here. Let me see where we are.
You said you talked about the smash and grabs, right? And I find that interesting because when you see the mass shootings that happen, majority of those people are white males.
Let's hear this.
Actually, if you look at the percentage of whites in America, which is 60%, percentage of mass shooters is under that. The percentage of people that commit hate crime is under that. The percentage of people who are serial killers is under that. Black people are 13% of the population. We commit a greater percentage compared to that of mass shootings.
We talked about the smash and grabs, though. So I was saying, since you're using that as an example, I'm saying, what about the mass shooters that are usually white males?
One more time, they are usually white males because 60% of the country is white. However, they underrepresent in terms of the number of mass shootings. About 50% or so of the mass shootings in this country are committed by white people, even though white people are 60% of the population. They underrepresent. We overrepresent when it comes to hate crime, when it comes to mass shootings, when it comes to serial killings, when it comes to robberies, when it comes to virtually every category of violent crime. We overrepresent.
What people do wrong?
It seems to me, rather than deal with what's going on, the pathology that's going on in the inner city, you want me to talk about how bad white people are, which I don't think is a particularly productive thing to do. I'm talking.
There's a cause and effect.
But there's no cause and effect. No. He's giving you disproportionality to their own percentages in the population. You have to compare white people to white people, the crimes that they commit, and black people to their numbers. That's what he's talking about. It's not about what do white people do wrong. What are we doing? Oh my gosh.
And he was answering his question. Charlamagne was the one that brought up the mass shootings because this is what they do. This is what these leftist-minded people do. When you start talking about crime, which mass shootings don't really, affect most Americans. I mean, it's awful and it's horrible. We've been seeing these mass shootings, but this is not the main indicator or factor in crime, that affects us. But black people always got to show up, throw up mass shootings. Then he gives him the answer. It's not proportionate to white people in the population. And he still is basically asking, what about white people?
White people. What about white people?
I don't understand. Let's move on to this part here. All right. So this is...
It was racists who destroyed it. No question about it. We've had race riots, but so have Japanese.
So you do agree that there's
to black people, obviously, and a belief in entrepreneurship. All those things are now under assault by organizations like Black Lives Matter. Charlamagne, Black Lives Matter had on their website an attack on the nuclear family. The founders are self-described Marxists, trained Marxists. Marx wanted to dethrone God, was an atheist, and Marx did not believe in capitalism, let alone entrepreneurship. All the things that made Black people still survive in virulent racism are now under attack by organizations like Black Lives Matter.
The organizations that they support.
Go back to things like whether it's the Tulsa race massacres. Like every time Black people do.
So let's talk before I pause it here, because this is something that a lot of Black people bring up: the Tulsa race massacre, and this was the Black Wall Street.
Right.
All right. So let's see what he says about that, because this is something. The idea of when we did create something such as Tulsa, such as Black Wall Street, which it didn't actually get named Black Wall Street until after
the fact.
After the fact. But they say, so it's the idea that every time Black people do something, white people burn it down, tear it down. This is what they did in the past.
Create these systems that are our systems, and we are the entrepreneurs. It seems like white supremacy finds a way to destroy it.
Every time. Look, the Tulsa massacre, within about 5 years, that whole area was rebuilt. It was not even called the Black Wall Street until after it was rebuilt. And was rebuilt, by the way, by Black people without one dime of government money.
Yeah, who destroyed it to begin with?
It was racism destroyed it. No question about it. We've had.
Yo, we got to play a drinking game. Every time they say white people
or drink,
yeah. Every time I wish somebody bring me something to drink. Every time they say white people, or what about white people? What about white people? Grab a drink something. Because you will be drunk as a skunk by the time we finish this program.
Yeah.
Race rights, but so if Japanese.
So you do agree that there's racism? I'm just so confused.
I never even came close to saying. I never came close to saying there was no racism.
That's probably the only truth she said this whole time. Is that
not anymore? Obviously, there was. We had something called slavery. We had something called Jim Crow.
Hold on, sir. That was system that was the system that destroyed Black Wall Street. It's the same system right now that's not even wanting to pay those same living descendants, because I know your position on reparations, but those same living descendants of Black Wall Street.
Okay.
And it was rebuilt.
Then you go on to say
it was rebuilt
system
without government
is also trying to destroy President Trump. So I'm just so confused on, do you believe that the system can destroy or not? You pick and choose, sir, and that's what's so confusing to me. You just said it wasn't racism. Now it is racism. When it was time to build it back,
I said it
wasn't. There was no racism.
I said it wasn't systemic.
Say that.
Let's talk about.
So what are you just hung up on the word system?
Can I?
No, you are.
Let's make a point, Charlamagne, please. Let's take Chinese Americans. Chinese Americans were the first ethnic group to be excluded with an Immigration Act in the late 1800s.
Gosh.
They had riots against Chinese in LA, in San Francisco. There were laws that prevented Chinese Americans from participating in the laundry business. I'm in California. California, of course, rounded up Japanese Americans during World War II. There were laws that prevented Japanese Americans from owning farmland. The average Japanese American household has a higher per capita income than the average white household. The average Chinese American household has a higher per capita income than the average white household. How does that happen? It happens because of a strong belief in family. It is rare for a Chinese American or a Japanese American kid to have a child outside of wedlock, and a strong belief in education and a strong belief in entrepreneurship. These are the kinds of qualities that make people successful.
You can't blame everything on having a fatherless family, right? Because
I didn't say blaming everything.
I know, but that's what you're saying. You're saying a strong community.
No, you said that's what I just said. I didn't say that.
You talk about the Asian community. Asian community, it's easy for them to get loans for entrepreneurships. It's easy for them to get loans for houses. You look at our community.
Okay.
If you really want to talk about our community, right? You look at the schools in our community. Some of our schools are the worst, right? But
absolutely, which is why one of the reasons I'm running for president is for school choice.
Also, would you say that in our community?
My gosh!
It's also in our communities heavy food deserts. There's nothing but fast food places that are just killing and destroying that. Would you say that's true?
Oh my gosh! Look, okay, he's talking about the food deserts, the school system, but these are the same. When we on our side say, okay, school choice, Stop giving your money. Stop putting these people in office that vote for public schools, which don't educate our children. Then this side, the people that I represent, like Charlamagne, Tezlyn, and Envy, they call us racist and that we're not helping the poor people. But yet, why should we keep feeding a beast that's biting us? That doesn't make sense.
Exactly. It really doesn't. It really doesn't. And he's explaining to him how when we talk about this, and how it happened or something similar happened to Chinese Americans, and they don't want to hear it. Everything Larry gives them. And instead of them asking probing questions about it, okay, so you're saying this happened to them. Well, how was it similar? Or they ask, well, what about white people? What about white people? Or what about the system? It's an obsession and it's a sickness, is what it is. It's a sickness. Here we are.
Me too.
Boy.
You mentioned, just ask a question.
You said a number of things. I just addressed one of them about loans. In 1965, Barack Obama, who was in private practice, joined a bunch of other lawyers to file a class action lawsuit against Citicorp, headquartered here in New York. 186 Black people were applying for loans for mortgages. They didn't get them. And they accused Citicorp of engaging in racism. Citicorp said, no, it's not racism. You have poor credit scores, and we want to make sure we get our money back.
Right.
Obama joined a bunch of other lawyers, and they sued Citicorp in a class action lawsuit. And Citicorp said, okay, to hell with it. Gave them all loans. And
gave them all
they followed them all up. Daily Caller did a few years later. Almost all of them lost their homes. Several of them filed for bankruptcy. One of them even said, you know, when you don't qualify for a loan, maybe we shouldn't get a loan. Well, duh, it wasn't.
And I want to stop it here. This is the same argument that we make about affirmative action. It's the idea of you doing things and you elevating people, not because they're ready for it, not because they have shown in their criteria that they can do it, but because of their skin color.
Exactly.
And it doesn't, and the same thing can be said about affirmative action when you look at the numbers. Black students that used affirmative action to get into some of these Ivy League institutions, they don't fare as well versus if they started out as an HBCU. Because the curriculums are much too rigorous.
Exactly. There was a comment that just came across, I think it was Grace Inspired, and it said something, I'm paraphrasing, that every other group has come here, they've moved forward in 1 or 2 generations, but we Black people are still waiting for our 40 acres and a mural, and even transgenders are about to pass us. I thought that was pretty poignant, because I was just speaking to someone yesterday, and he said and this man is 71 years old, and he was talking about, unfortunately, Black people, we're still waiting for someone to save us, i.e. white people, whomever. We're still waiting for someone to save us while all these other opportunities pass us by. So that was a pretty good comment. And you're right, KJ, about the affirmative action. We don't take advantage of the opportunities. Other groups are here, immigrant groups, or even maybe 2nd or 3rd generation Asians are here, and they are surpassing us too. What are we still doing? We're sitting here killing each other off every other night, or every night in some cities, slaughtering each other and complaining that the white man is still not coming, giving us our 40 acres and a mule.
Exactly. And for those of you guys who are watching for the first time, and if you are, please subscribe. Please subscribe. If you like the content that you're seeing tonight, we are live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. with new content. This is a special edition. We could not help ourselves. We had to comment on this Breakfast Club interview with Larry Elder. But we're from Baltimore. We are Baltimore girls, born and raised, still live in Baltimore. So he's going to talk about Baltimore in a few.
Yes.
Okay. So you can't tell us nothing about being Black. Okay. About Black people. Okay. About, seeing, gun violence and violence within our communities and poor education system. We are living it. We are here. But we understand that the solution is not to blame white people.
Exactly.
Okay. So we're going to move it right along here. Let me see here. All right, let's see.
True that Black people were not getting loans. Plus, there are all sorts of Black-owned community banks around the country. And it turns out the turn-down rate when you apply for a loan at a community bank was even higher, because they had less capital and they couldn't afford to loan money to risky people. It is just not the case.
Who does it really give money to?
For a lot of the politicians is because people were not lending money to
a lot of the politicians and all of the.
Hold on 1 second, Charlamagne. But see,
what's not true?
You're bringing back facts of 1965, right? Let's talk 2023, right?
I said 1995.
1995. We talk 2023, right? My son will be successful in real estate and successful in buying a house. You know why? Because of you.
to raise a child on your own. Even Tupac Shakur said, I know for a fact, Tupac, excuse me. I know for a fact, had I had a father, I would have been more confident. I would have been more disciplined. End of quote.
Well, how did all those white men end up in jail?
Here we go. How do white men?
Trump and Giuliani. I'm just asking the question. How did they end up in jail?
Because some people commit crimes.
No, sir.
Here we go.
My apologies for interrupting you earlier. I just couldn't stomach the answer that I knew you were going to say.
Well, we can't stomach you.
I can't stomach
you. We can't stomach you.
Exactly.
I wish she would just disappear in this cloud that she's in on this screen.
Oh my God.
She's so ignorant.
Sir, I can't stomach it.
And she's so smug.
And notice how she says it. She says that as if she has a really, really poignant point to make. She doesn't.
No, she doesn't. She's this, what I call them nasty nice. You know, they come off like they're so nice, but she's really nasty.
Dumb.
She's very nasty.
Dumb.
Here we go.
Yeah, I couldn't stomach because your actual answer to Trump being what was happening to him with the indictments, you actually said that the system was doing it. You said there was a two-tier system. This is your word.
There we go.
Two-tier system. So when it came to Trump, all of a sudden you now believe in this systematic thing. That's happening.
I'm drinking again.
But it's not. But it's not about race.
I didn't ask you that. I asked you. Remember, I made it easy for you, and I took race out of it. Remember, I said I'm just talking about the system. I'm just talking about
what is the system.
You want to ask me whether I believe Donald Trump is being treated the same way as Joe Biden and is being treated the same way as Hillary Clinton? All these people are white. All these people are white. There's a double standard.
Well, Mr. Elder, you didn't hear my question. You didn't hear my question.
You said some people commit crimes, so you do believe that Trump, Giuliani, they committed a crime.
I don't know.
But you just said some people commit crimes.
I said some people commit a crime. I didn't say Donald Trump committed a crime. You asked me specifically whether I believe Donald Trump committed a crime. I don't.
Specifically about those people and why they ended up in jail. They all got followed.
Well, Donald Trump is not in jail.
Oh, he got.
Yeah, he got indicted. That's a far cry from being in jail.
Well, why did he get indicted?
Well, he got arrested, is what I'm saying.
He's
going to get arrested.
He got indicted, in my opinion, because the DOJ has a double standard. They let Hillary pass, for example. She clearly violated the Espionage Act by having an unsecured server in her basement. She paid for the Steele dossier. She destroyed 30,000 emails that were under subpoena, and she got a wrist slap. And Donald Trump is now being indicted, I think, for the fourth time. It's unfair.
Right.
Black people telling y'all how corrupt the FBI is.
Damn it! I'm going to be
and the FBI has been corrupt.
Damn.
They are just looking for something to blame.
Exactly.
It's really sad.
They have zero. And notice how Charlamagne, he was quick to correct Larry on his pronunciation of Tupac. Oh, they know Tupac's story, but darn it, they don't know this stuff that's happening, right? The information he's giving them. Nope, that's too much. That's too high for them.
Right. It's oh my sad.
God.
It's actually sad. I want to also acknowledge we have some super chatters here. We really appreciate you guys. We have here Chadwick. He says, "Great show, ladies. Thank you so much. We really appreciate this." Also, What a Jutsu says, this is shameful when you ask ignorant questions, make ignorant statements, argumentative, and misquote. You're not debating, you're being a fool.
Thank you.
Larry Elder is so good to be on the Breakfast Club. Yes, he is. And we're thankful that he did this because he's reaching an audience that he wouldn't necessarily reach had he not been on this show. Yep. So I'm actually glad they extended the offer where he was allowed on here. Even though, they're not really asking very critical questions, not really open to debate. But I'm glad he had the opportunity to be on and do this. Let's move on here. So let me see here.
They're not embarrassed at all.
No, they're not. They're not embarrassed. 29. Let's see here. Move it along.
I do, but much of it is either self-inflicted or because of policies that we have supported. Democrats that we have supported. I wrote a book called, it's coming out in
let's see what he asked.
Because I'm telling the truth, and the truth oftentimes is unpleasant. But rather than
those systems can hold you back no matter how hard you work, right?
I'm going to say, but rather than whine about it, my goal is to get on as many shows as I can, like yours. Urge people to go to LarryElder.com, give at least $1, even if you want somebody else.
Now he's talking about actually qualifying for the debates.
Right.
So Larry Elder is he's saying that I don't believe he's qualifying for the GOP debates because of how his low numbers in as far as how much he has as far as the polling. Is that right?
Right.
Yes.
Right. So the RNC added another layer to the qualifications. But update as of today, early today, I saw an email from Larry, and he only needed at that time, I think, 2,000 more people in order to qualify to be on the stage. And let me say this as a disclaimer: I didn't like that rule either, because I think primary candidates, this is the time we need to hear from the candidates, however many they're going to be. Eventually they will wind down, but I don't think that our RNC should block people just because they don't have 40,000 subscribers or donors and 1%. I kind of agree with Larry on that point, but hopefully I think he is just about crossing the threshold.
Excellent. And I do want to acknowledge another super chatter here. Thank you so much, Caleb.
Thank you,
Cannon. Thank you. We really appreciate this. You guys don't know how much we do appreciate this. We're a new channel, fairly new, and right out of Baltimore City, conservative ladies here, and we are out here just bringing the truth, bringing the facts, and trying to reach our community, and hopefully people are waking up. I think people are waking up. What do you think, Shelly?
I think so. I'm going with the individuals, and I'm not trying to wake up the masses. I think I'm going to conserve my energy and put it to the right use.
Right. And you said something about the lions. You always say something about
that. Wake up, lions. We need more lions. KJ and I, we call ourselves lions, mama lions, bears. We need them all. Lions and tigers and bears. Oh my.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Yeah, because at this point, you can't wake the sheep. We got to wake the lions, and we got to be at the gate and ready for anything. And with thought, with clear facts, with truth. We will debate anyone on the facts and the truth and the numbers. That's what we need. So let's keep it going here.
Don't you think it's wise for us to talk about the epidemic of fatherlessness, the lie that America remains systemically racist, and the need for school choice? 13 public high schools in Baltimore, 0% of the kids can do math.
Baltimore, where we are.
53 public high schools in Chicago, 0% of the kids can do math at grade level. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party is opposed to school choice, while the party elites, whether it's Barack Obama or Gavin Newsom or Joe Biden, have their own kids in private school. It is wrong, and we need to talk about that.
Larry Elder, why would somebody from our community vote for you, or why should they vote for you? Why should a Black person vote for you?
Listen to this. He literally just talked about what's going on here in Baltimore. We have an epidemic in education right now, where many schools are failing. The Democrats, we're run by Democrats. We're about to see him talk about that, and they are failing the children in huge numbers.
Right.
He's talking about school choice. He's talking about what's going on in California, also run by Democrats. And this gump sits with his hand on his, it's not helping, his hand on his head and says, tell me, why are you running? What did he say?
Why are you running? Why are you running? Why would Black people vote for you? And like you said, we're here in Baltimore, and what Larry has just said is true. We talked about it on our show. There's ongoing investigations, even still today, about the piss poor education system in Baltimore and Maryland at large, particularly the public schools. But so he's not lying. Larry's not just making this up out of whole cloth. We live here. We have literally KJ and I have been a part of protests or press conferences in front of the school board where we are challenging. There's a lawsuit right now that's going on suing the Baltimore City School Board because they are not educating our students.
Right, exactly. And not only that, but we're seeing, instead of them talking about math, reading, writing, we're seeing them talk more about this sexualization of children, about gender and anti-biological sex. This is what they're going to talk more and more about. And I hate to go off course here, just very quickly. Today I had a run-in with a Democrat running in my area, and he knocked on my door. And I think he feels like he knocked on the wrong door. The first thing he says to me, he wants to earn my vote. he says he is here to support undocumented immigrants. This is what he said. Undocumented migrants. I think it's something like that. He said for education and for the workforce.
Wow.
This is what he starts off coming to me and asking for my vote. Why do I care about that?
Right.
We live in a city that is, and excuse my language, going to shit. Baltimore City, the education is failing. Crime is up. We have an epidemic in homelessness.
Right.
In drug use. Youth are dying, being murdered. We have an uptick in murders of youth, of young adults. And he is coming to me about undocumented immigrants.
Right. And they have no shame about it.
None. But this is what we have, and he's still asking, why are you running? This is ridiculous. Here we are.
Because I'm telling the truth, and the truth oftentimes is unpleasant. It's not pleasant for me to be called the black face of white supremacy, as the LA Times did. It's not pleasant for me to be accused of being anti-black, as Tavis Smiley once called me, because I don't support reparations. By the way, Barack Obama never supported reparations. Nobody called him anti-black. We need to talk about what's going on. What's going on is the breakdown of the family. And most of the things we complain about downstream, whether it's crime or whether it's bad schools, the genesis is the breakdown of the nuclear intact family, and we don't talk enough about it.
We get called names too.
Harder with a lot of things that you just said, whether it is racism, whether it is getting loans, whether it is getting entrepreneurship, whether it is education, whether it is all those things. You do understand that and agree with that, correct?
I do, but much of it is either self-inflicted or because of policies that we have supported.
Exactly. I say this every week.
It's coming out in October. It's called As Goes California, My Mission to Rescue the Golden State and Save the Nation.
Wow.
It's about the one-party rule in California. California has supermajorities of Democrats in the Senate and in the House. And as a result, our schools are near the bottom. People are leaving California for the very first time.
We have
the highest state income tax in the country. The average price of a home in California costs 175% above the national average, all because of these left-wing policies that are hurting the very people, black and brown people living in the inner city, that people on the left claim to.
I was just going to say, here in Baltimore City, we have one of the highest property taxes in the nation. We have. And the city is actually shrinking. So people are leaving the city because of high crime, because of lack of jobs. And we have one of the highest tax.
We do. We do. In our area, we do, KJ. And like you said, the city is shrinking as far as population, but City Hall, the budget for the mayor has gone off the roof, right? It's still increasing. And every week, what Larry just said about the policies we support, we say it almost every week on the show. I'm going to repeat what I say, my little alliteration. Progressive policies pulverize the people they purport to protect. Same thing. These are the policies that we support through the people that are elected, and the policies come back to bite us in our asses.
Right. This is why it doesn't make sense for this Tezlyn woman on here to talk about the system when the people, at least here in Baltimore City, when you look at our public charter, our Baltimore City charter, and the way that government is supposed to run, the people are supposed to be at the top. We are voting for these people, elected officials, who then are the system, system of government. So when she keeps saying that, yes, I mean, there is a government system, a financial system, but a lot of times the governmental system that's in place are people voting for these people.
Exactly.
So we do have another super chatter here. I want to thank you so much. We have here James. Yes, how much you need to be down this be you Baltimore girls rock. A shame she a vet. I am a proud vet. Yes.
Right. Oh, Tezlyn is a vet. Tezlyn.
I see what she's saying. Okay. Oh, yeah, I know. It's shameful. Then we also have Brother Wall Street. Finally, a wonderful podcast. I will keep watching this podcast. I'm a conservative by nature. Yes, thank you so much.
There's naughty by nature, and then there's conservative by nature. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. And you here, we call ourselves, or our tagline is smart, edgy, because again, we don't mince words. We are not your traditional conservative when we're talking about speech. Okay,
right.
So we are edgy and we are conservative. This is what you'll get here. We do have another super chatter here. Thank you so much, Reed. So Reed says, it's refreshing to hear Black women who aren't afraid to speak the truth. God bless.
Thank you, Reed.
Thank you so much, Reed. God bless you too. Thank you for watching. Thank you for joining us tonight. We haven't even got to the most explosive part of this interview. Take a look here. Here we are.
What they care about.
Do you think slavery was self-inflicted, or do you think Jim Crow segregation was self-inflicted?
Again.
Slavery was self-inflicted. Of course, it wasn't self-inflicted, but there are a lot of people have bloody hands in slavery. Mm-hmm. For example, slavery could not have existed had it not been for African chieftains who were selling Black slaves captured in battle or captured through raids and selling them to European and Arab slavers. It could not have existed without that. So everybody has dirty hands here. That's why reparations is such a foolish thing. If you're going to get reparations from the 5% or so of white people that have some sort of generational connection to slavery, and that's all there is.
And this is what I think, because, first of all, I don't agree with reparation either, but I do believe there is a debt owed. Mm-hmm. But how do you do it? How is the question is, how will we even implement a system of reparations? So to me, it doesn't make sense to even go down that road.
Exactly.
And this is what he's saying. There's so many hands that were in slavery. Exactly. What about the many white Americans who fought for the Union Army against slavery? What about that? Are their descendants supposed to pay reparations?
Yeah, according to Charlamagne and Tezlyn, they are. And you're right. We had a civil war. I agree that there's a debt owed, but I don't want to destroy the country by implementing reparations and paying all of this money. Where's it going to come from?
We're going to pay. We are going to pay our own reparations.
Exactly.
All right.
Then you need to go back to Africa and get money from African countries that were involved in the slave trade and in the Arab slave trade. And by the way, the Arab slave trade was even worse than the European slave trade. 90% rate of attrition, often making men and women walk on barefoot across the Sahara, and the men were castrated. Only about 5.
So if they go after the money from the other countries, then would you agree that it would be okay to go after the money from America? Is that your problem? When
are you going to stop with this? Everybody has agreements. I'm answering your question. There's no end. There'll be no end to this, because slavery has been part of human history from the very beginning.
Okay,
we be getting money.
Universal.
Sir, I've let you talk, and every time I talk, you begin to talk, and then you say, "Let you finish." So I asked you a very simple question. You said, "If you're going to go after it in America, go after it in Africa." So we all agree to go after it in Africa. Will you then agree to go after it in America?
No, I won't, because it's a waste of time. We ought to be spending our time on education. Okay, you told me that I cut you off. Then I try to answer your question. You won't let me finish.
Go ahead, Larry.
Thank you. It's a waste of time. We ought to be talking about working hard, investing in ourselves. Right now, as we speak, there are Haitians in Haiti lining up for a lottery to come into this country. Why? Because it is the land of the free and the home of the brave. You can go from nothing to something faster in America than any other country in all of human history. We ought to be talking about that. Let me just, one more point. 1997, Time Magazine and CNN hooked up together to do a poll on what...
I completely agree about the Black family. I don't think anybody here objects to that.
Don't disagree about that at all.
I think when you talk about ideology and then you mix in parties and then personalities, it gets kind of confusing. And you mentioned yourself not to moan and groan, that as long as you work hard, all is well. And I think where the conflict is coming in is you did moan and groan about how the Republicans treated you. You did moan and groan about Governor Newsom and, asking for a recall. You did not leave that up to the voters. You are moaning and groaning when it comes to Donald Trump and how he's being treated. So it just seems to be a hypocrisy. And I don't know if the message would land a little bit better if there was some fairness across the board on Democrats and Republicans. I'm an independent, by the way, and I think both parties are trash. And I think all of us here, see both sides. And
you're dumb. You're just dumb.
Yeah, I mean, you're independent, but I haven't heard one independent thought come out of her mouth. Nothing independent about what she said. All I've heard is blame the system, the white people, slavery. She hasn't come up with any type of response to the things that he said. She hasn't asked any probing questions about the data he's provided. Nothing.
Nothing, because they're trying to catch him, so to speak, and set him up to kind of embarrass him, but they cannot refute anything. DJ Envy might come the closest to maybe asking an important, intelligent question, but these other two are dumb. They're dumb and embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. It is very embarrassing. Here we are. Now this part, listen to this.
For me, there seems to be an unfairness on both sides with you.
Well, not too surprisingly, I don't agree with your analysis. How is it that I did not leave the recall to the voters? What do you mean by that?
What do you?
You said I didn't leave the recall to the voters.
No. I said you moaned and groaned about it. You said it should be recalled, correct? Correct.
I said Gavin Newsom should have been recalled. Yes.
Right. That's moaning and groaning.
Well, actually, it's taking advantage of what's in the California Constitution, which is when a certain percentage of voters sign a petition to recall a politician, there can be a recall vote, and there was one, as there was in 2003. We recalled the governor then, and there was in 2021 when I attempted to recall Gavin Newsom. That's part of our democratic process in California.
Absolutely. We agree with that.
You don't know
it. Rather than moan about it a little while ago, you said rather than moan about it, I'm just going to keep doing the hard work. And so I'm just saying that technically
he is doing the hard work.
That's my point.
He's going through the process. It's part of the constitutional process to get a number of votes if you want to put forth a recall. That is called using the process. That's not moaning and groaning. It's doing the work.
Exactly. And not only that, but he's running again. He ran for governor. Now he's running for president. What is she talking about? Oh my goodness gracious.
I don't follow exactly what you're saying.
It's okay. I didn't expect you to.
Yeah,
I'm
a little slow sometimes.
One moment, yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
One moment you're complaining about the system, and the next minute you're saying the system is fair. The next minute you're saying it's not fair. So that's what I'm saying. There just seems to be a double standard on you and the system, not wanting to be accountable for a system that Black people are not in charge of, by the way. Of not wanting to hold both sides accountable when it comes to the system.
Do I believe Hillary was treated differently and Joe Biden treated differently than Donald Trump is being treated? Yes, I do. Is that an indictment about whether or not America is systemically racist? No, it is not. Those are two different things. Yes,
you're trying to merge the two.
I agree with you. They're two different things. No, we're agreeing. We're agreeing. They're two different things.
Like, shut up. We're agreeing to two different things. We're not agreeing that there's not systematic racism because we're not in charge of the system. In case,
okay, all right. Can we?
We've never been in charge of any system. We're not
actually we have been. Take Baltimore.
No, we've never been in charge.
May I finish?
Tell me, what financial system are Black people in charge of? What healthcare system are Black people in charge of? What government system are Black people in charge of?
I'm about ready to tell you.
What prison system are Black people in charge?
I'm about ready to tell you.
I'm not talking about mayors. I already know that talking point, sir. I go on Fox News all the time as well. So let's not go on there.
They put you on there to show you how dumb you are.
Have we created? Have we implemented that we have been in charge of? Name
yes.
Is this why you don't like talking to Black women, Larry Elder?
Wow.
Wow.
Baltimore. Freddie Gray a few years ago.
No. That's mayors. I'm not talking. I said system.
I'm going to tell you about this system if you allow me to finish my point.
I'm not talking about somebody elected and doing a job. I asked what system did we create? What financial system?
Okay, let's talk about the system of one of the largest. Thank you. One of the systems of one of the largest cities in America, Baltimore. Freddie Gray died in police custody a few years ago. The mayor was Black. The head of the police department was Black. Number two,
it's not in charge of the system. Go ahead.
Number two person in charge of the police department was Black. All of city council, Democrats, majority Black.
Still not in charge of the system.
Six officers charged, 3 of them were Black. A judge before whom 2 of the officers tried their case, found him not guilty, was Black.
Yes.
Still not in charge of the system.
The city intendant of public schools was Black. The county superintendent of public schools was Black. The attorney general at the time, Loretta Lynch, is Black, as was the president of the United States, was Black. And yet,
still not in charge of the system. So I asked you a simple question, sir.
Well, Wanda Sykes said when Barack Obama got elected, "How are you going to complain about the man when you are the man?"
Thank you.
We got to stop here. All right. First of all, we are living in Baltimore City. We are here in Baltimore City. We were born and raised in Baltimore City. Larry is telling the truth.
Right.
The time that Freddie Gray was died, and everyone here and still is Black. From the district attorney to most of the police officers that arrested him, to the mayor, to the police commissioner.
Right.
Our city council is predominantly Black.
Right.
Everywhere you turn, is Negroes.
Okay. So what is she talking about? She's not talking about a position. These people up and down the chain, this is a part of the criminal system or the legal system, the political system. What is she talking? I just want to understand what she's talking about. And she says it, I think, in the next little bit about Charlamagne says, oh, you just mean Black people in Black spaces or Black faces. So basically, she's discounting her own argument again. First of all, she's saying Black people can't be in charge or they didn't create anything. But when they are in charge and they are running things, they're still not running things. She is just dumb. This is just dumb.
It is. And let me tell you, because again, we are here in Baltimore City. It's so corrupt that there's no opposition party here to provide any type of accountability or thought or questions to what they're doing. That this is why we have so much corruption.
Exactly.
I mean, even the news stations here, we have one news station that's actually asked hard questions. The rest of them are Democrat cronies. We don't even get a fair and unbiased media here.
Exactly.
So,
and they're done. And I want to add to Larry's comments about the people in charge. Since I think it's 1942, our Baltimore City Council has only had Democrats. Mm-hmm. Since 1967, there has only been Democrat mayors, if I'm not mistaken. There's not been no Republican, I think, since 1967 as a mayor in the Baltimore City. So for 56 years, as far as the mayor, and I think it's 81 years for the city council, there's been no Republicans.
Yeah. And a good majority of the time, it's been Black, at least for the last decade. It's been Black people running all of this.
Exactly.
To the ground.
That's part of the system. That's what you call a system.
Yeah. I don't know what other system she's talking about. I really don't. I don't either. Yeah. So, we'll go on.
Now, from the president to the attorney general to the state attorney to the mayor to the head of the police department to the commissions of the schools in the city and in the county to the majority of city council in that city, all of them are Black. And you're still saying that we don't run anything?
So who's in charge of the
system?
No.
I said who created the system. I didn't say we didn't run anything. I challenge.
Charlamagne. Yes, he says,
well, who's running the system?
Who said running Tezlyn? I don't know what you're talking about either, you dummy.
Right.
You don't even know what she's talking about. Turn the TV off. Turn her off.
Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, yay.
A lot of those Black leaders, by the way. I said when we talk about the system, what Black people have been in charge of any system.
He just told you.
I'm not talking about a mayor.
You're basically saying that they're Black faces that are still in those positions, but they're still
correct. Similar to you, Mr. Elder. You're a Black face in a position in the conservative movement. They're just the same. They're just on the other side. I'm talking about.
So then, when Martin Luther King said in 1966, I believe there could be a Black president in about 40 years' time, then it really doesn't matter whether there's one or nothing changes. He was naive. He was naive then.
Killed him as well. Well, we know that the FBI and the CIA also killed him. That system. You realize that, correct?
Wow.
Oh my God.
An individual killed him.
Right. That was also a part of Pro Hotel through the system. Correct?
Not correct.
Pro.
Not correct.
The
FBI didn't have anything to do with it. The CIA didn't have anything to do with it.
J. Edgar Hoover was definitely on Martin's ass. Like, come on.
I didn't say he wasn't. Robert Kennedy is the one that approved the wiretaps. But to say that the FBI killed him, I mean, what's your evidence of that?
Oh no,
that's a pretty serious charge.
Wow. Listen, this entire conversation of the Breakfast Club, they have zero evidence, they have zero facts, they have zero statistics, they have zero data, nothing, no truth, no facts, nothing. They have provided nothing. You would get more nutrients and information off of reading the back of a fries at McDonald's than you would listening to these people.
The cereal box.
A cereal box.
Exactly.
We are coming to the end. I want you to hear this part here. It's really shameful what they do. It really is.
It really is.
1 second.
Wow.
Oh, right here we are. Take a look here.
Let people know there are consequences to their actions. It will inform their actions and make them behave more responsibly. Anytime you allow bad behavior to continue, you're going to get more bad behavior, whether that's...
So how does that apply to President Trump then? Because you said that was a two-tier system that...
Because I don't believe Donald Trump...
You don't think he did anything?
I don't think he did anything wrong. No, I don't. I believe that he complained about the election the same way Hillary did. Hillary, for 4 years, referred to the 2016 election as having been stolen, her word, not mine. She called Donald Trump illegitimate, her word, not mine.
Right.
Jay Johnson, who's Obama's DHS secretary, testified under oath that not a single vote tally was changed by the Russians. They tried, but they failed to change a single vote tally. 66% of Democrats believe the Russians changed vote tallies to get Donald Trump elected.
And that was the
even
Democrats.
though Jay Johnson testified under oath, not a single one was changed. That's the damage that people like Hillary and former President Jimmy Carter and Stacey Abrams and Hakeem Jeffries and others have said for years, referring to Donald Trump as illegitimate. A greater percentage of Democrats believe 2016 was stolen than we feel that way about 2020, but yet nobody calls them election deniers and nobody accuses them of undermining our republic. And they're not undermining our republic. They're complaining about an election. You have a right to do so.
Absolutely.
I know you probably got to go.
And I want to acknowledge we do have another super chatter. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. James again. Oh, he says, please get a tea made of her in clown face. I am so confused.
That's when you're pulling it. I'm so confused.
She looks like a clown.
That's the only truth she said all night is that she's confused.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. There it is. I'm confused. You're right. You're right. I'm confused. Now listen to this.
Have you ever heard of the term nigga wake up call?
No.
It is.
Jay Johnson, who's Obama's DHS secretary, testified under oath that not a single vote tally was changed by the Russians. They tried, but they failed to change a single vote tally. 66% of Democrats believe the Russians changed vote tallies to get Donald Trump elected, even though Jay Johnson testified under oath, not a single one was changed. That's the damage that people like Hillary and former President Jimmy Carter and Stacey Abrams and Hakeem Jeffries and others have said for years, referring to Donald Trump as illegitimate. A greater percentage of Democrats believe 2016 was stolen than we feel that way about 2020, but yet nobody calls them election deniers and nobody accuses them of undermining our republic. And they're not undermining our republic. They're complaining about an election. You have a right to do so.
Listen where Charlamagne at.
I know you probably got to go. Have you ever heard of the term nigga wake up call?
No.
It is an incident where a person of color forgets that they are of color and are reminded rather brutally by an unexpected act of racism. Have you ever had any of those?
Oh, brother.
I'm just asking. You think you've ever had
I'm acutely aware.
Can you believe he asked him that?
That is...
Can you believe he asked him that?
Yeah.
Charlamagne asked him, have you ever heard of a nigger wake up call? Nigga, you need to wake up. Anybody who watches this program and hears your responses and this Tezlyn, you need to wake up.
Nigga wake up call. Now, and interestingly enough, KJ, that concept, nigga wake up call. Notice Charlamagne, they agree with that when it supposedly applies to people who are black that forget that they're black, right? But let somebody else, a white person, say something about them being a nigga. They will be starting race war number, I don't know how many. But now they're going to throw this and just try to embarrass this man.
This man who has done so much. And but Larry lets him know. Take a look.
Charlamagne, that I'm a black person, just as you are a black person. And when Joe Biden insulted you by saying, you ain't really black, we don't know whether or not you want to vote for me or vote for Donald Trump. It seems to me that should have been a wake-up call on your part. How dare this guy come in here and insult you, a black man, and tell you you got to think a certain kind of way? I'm amazed that you weren't mad about that.
Right.
I'm not gonna say it upset me, just like I'm not letting you upset me. You know what I mean?
So his answer to that is I didn't let it upset me because just like I don't let you upset you. He didn't say you weren't black.
Exactly.
But you said, and you let Joe Biden say to you that you are to question your ethnicity, your race, just because you question the Democrats.
Exactly. In his own house, so to speak. In his own house.
In his own place.
In his own house.
That's shameful.
That's like having somebody come, a squatter, come in your house while you're on vacation, and just not only are they going to take over your house, they're going to shit in your kitchen.
Yeah, and then you come home from vacation and say, "What are you doing here?" And they say, "What are you doing here?"
Right.
Shameful.
Wow.
I tend to get upset over things like
well,
that. But what I did say,
well, you just not talk about a nigger wake up call, and it seemed to me that should have been a wake up call on your part to have a white guy come in here who also said, by the way, about Mitt Romney, because he didn't want to put more regulations on Wall Street, going to put y'all back in chains. Yep. And Joe Biden has lied for decades about his civil rights record, claiming that he desegregated movie theaters and restaurants in Wilmington, Delaware, when he didn't do any of that. He lied and said that he tried to visit Nelson Mandela during apartheid South Africa. He did not. And he came in here and told you aren't even black unless you think a certain kind of way. Right. It seemed to me that should have been a nigga wake up call for you, but it wasn't apparently.
Bam! Bam!
I didn't say you were.
Yeah, I think both.
I don't know what you are.
But you're cooning for the Democrat Party, as we can see throughout this entire interview. Instead of you saying, you know what, Larry, those statistics you gave, they do make sense. Or I have to look into that.
Exactly.
You're cooning for the Democrat Party, but I'm not surprised, because this is the same man that takes up for people like Sexy Red and Cardi B and Suki Hana, who go around in chains around their necks with letting men walk them like dogs. If you guys don't know, these are rappers. There's a new up-and-coming rappers that this man, Charlamagne, continues to uplift and encourage. But he is going to ask Larry Elder, who came on his show, just giving him facts and figures, have you ever heard of a nigga wake-up call? Did you ask Suki Hana? Has she heard of a nigga wake-up call when she talked about people having sex?
With her coochie scratch.
Right. Did you ask her that? These people are disgusting. It's a shame it shouldn't even be on the radio station, but they have millions of followers watching young, impressionable youth listening to this crap, listening to these coons, these Tobies on our stations.
Wait a minute. Talking about young, impressionable youth and Charlamagne supporting these disgusting rappers. He supports Sexy Red going to the high school, getting the students worked out, performing her sex acts, because it's really not a rap. It's really a sex act with her booty hole and her coochie pink. And so he supports that. Black children in the Black community who don't have the best education from the public schools, but Charlamagne, the God, he's the one in his ilk support this.
Yeah, this is what it. But he's asking Larry Elder about a wake-up call when they're the ones who need the wake-up call. They're the ones. They're the ones who are ruining our communities. Yep. They're the ones. But because you have someone like Larry Elder who comes on and provides facts and data that don't align with your obsession with white people, with racism, with slavery, then you're asking him, have you ever heard of a nigga wake-up call?
Nigga wake-up call. That's just so it beyond ignorant. It is so disrespectful.
It is.
Larry Elder is a 71-year-old man. He has done more for good for not just California, not just the Black people, but our country than Charlamagne will ever even think about doing. Yeah, it's just disrespectful.
It is. It really is. We'll hear Larry's response.
Well, I never even asked you about your party affiliation. Yeah, I'm just saying, but you are Black. And to have a white guy come in here and tell you have to say think a certain kind of way, otherwise you quote ain't Black. Wow.
How should I reply? Wow. You think?
What I just now said? How dare you insult me and tell me I think as a human being, let alone as a Black person? I don't tell you how to think, Joe Biden. How dare you come in here and tell me how I should think? I'm going to vote for Donald Trump if I want to vote for Donald Trump. And if I want to vote for Donald Trump, it does not make me not Black. 20% of Black people, Black men, as I said, voted for Donald Trump in 2020. Are they not Black now? So only 80% of Black people, Black men walking around are really Black, 20% are not because they voted for Donald Trump. How insulting is that? How condescending is that?
It's very condescending. It's just as condescending as this Tezlyn has been the entire program. it's just as condescending, but they don't see it. They don't see it. They continue to get on here and stand for the Democrat Party and coon and laugh and things like that with them. You know, they have Kamala Harris come on and they play music and she acts like she knows it and laughing hysterically at stuff that's not even supposed to be funny, and they love it. They love it.
They love it. Yeah, they do. It's called, you know, what is having your ears tickled.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically what it is. Foolishness.
Yeah.
Foolishness.
Yeah. Yeah. But I pray that independent-minded people and Democrats watched this broadcast and came away saying, these people are ridiculous.
Right.
Charlamagne the God, DJ Envy, and definitely Tezlyn, Figaro, whatever her name is, are ridiculous. And these are the people that we keep putting up in our communities. These are the people that we keep pushing out in front of our young people. And they are single-handedly ruining the Black community. Yeah. It's not racism. It's not slavery. It's not white people. Right. It's Charlamagne and his crew.
And what I would love to ask them, and people like them, which I have sometimes, why do they never think, they always accuse Black people who are conservatives, like Larry Elder, you and me and others, of being losing our Black card or forgetting that we're Black. Why do they never stop to look in the mirror to think that they are being puppets and used like puppets for the Democrat Party as Black people, trying to lure in other Black? I don't know why that escapes them. Maybe that's too much of a deep thought. I don't know, but I don't know why they never see themselves as being used like the puppets that they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's really, you have to really push back against the constant media, it's in the news media, it's in movies and Hollywood, radio, you know, the music, everything pushes you towards the left. So you really have to be of sound mind. You have to be a critical thinker. You have to be one to ask questions and then really look into the answers and the responses in order to push to not get obsessed with this whole leftist push, this leftist thinking. It really takes a strong mind, and that's why, you know, people like us who are surrounded by leftists, who are surrounded by our family, our friends, all of them are pretty much Democrat. We've lost a lot of friends. Right. We've gotten tons of arguments with family, and because of our views. Yeah. It's just, and I'm sure people who are watching, if you live in a Democrat city, if you're a Black person, because a lot of Black people vote Democrat, I'm sure you can say the same thing. Yeah. Something we go through daily.
Yeah, but like you said, ask questions, ask basic questions. Why are the people that you put in the office, how come you never see a fundamental transformation in your communities, in your families? Why are your taxes constantly going up in whatever area, and yet you're not getting that return on investment? But these same people will take your money, like the guy that came to KJ's door and say, we're going to support illegal immigrants. Not even legal, illegal migrants, what they call them now. Yeah. They're illegal immigrants. Our tax dollars go to fund this crap.
Yeah, exactly. While our communities continue to fail.
Yeah.
And guess what? The immigrant communities are thriving.
Yeah.
I mean, they come in on the low, but doesn't take them long to get up and get out. You know, so again, where are the priorities here?
Exactly. And the people who come here, like, why, if America is so racist and so horrible, why do we have all these people trying to get in here? Because why? Because it's a lie that it is so racist and horrible. That's a lie. Number one. Number two, they want the opportunities. But even more importantly, with Black people, why don't more of us take part of the opportunities that are here? Why? Absolutely. Because we're too focused on, well, what did white people do?
Right. Well, what's the system? What's the system? What about reparations? What about slavery? It's exhausting. It's exhausting. We are at the end of our time. Final thoughts, Shelly, before we head out. Again, we thank you guys for watching with us. Hit that like button. and hit that subscribe button. Share this in a broadcast. Share this in a DM to your family, to your friends. Share it on your social media, this broadcast. Comment, continue with the comments. We really appreciate you guys sitting with us. Saturday night, we are here on YouTube with you all, but we enjoyed the company. And I'm glad we watched this, and I'm glad we commented. And I thank God for Larry Elder. I hope he continues to do this stuff.
Yes. And I would encourage more people. We're going to do this ongoing, of course. But again, ask questions. Break it down. Stop the tape. Like they say, stop the tape. Stop the tape on your YouTube when you watch shows like this, and ask questions like, wait a minute, let's look up what maybe Larry Elder or whomever, what are they saying? And what are these people saying too? Look it up. Find out the facts. But not only that, look around. Don't close your eyes to what you see and experience, because it adds up. Connect the dots.
Absolutely. And we have another super chatter here. So thank you, Caleb. He says they are also hypocrites for disrespecting Larry Elder, who is literally the Black Elder. Absolutely. In the room with them. Clowns indeed.
Yes,
he is. And they did disrespect him. But he prevailed, as always, as I always say, truth and light will prevail in the end. And sometimes you got to leave the sheeps behind and you got to get the lions. And we are lions. Yes, indeed. We are the lions at the gate. And we just have to continue to spread this knowledge, spread facts, spread truth. I haven't given up hope yet, and I hope you guys have not either. So again, thank you. This is Pop and Politics. We are generally live every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Did a special edition tonight because we just could not help ourselves without commenting on this Breakfast Club clip, because it was just ridiculous. So
thank you for joining us.
Yes, thanks for joining us. Have a good night, guys. Happy weekend.